Welcome back. For the second half of class today, we're going to be looking at thinking through some intellectual ideas around the common good and justice. If you look in your handout, each day on your first page, each day I will provide you with questions. These are called questions for the day. And those are the questions we're going to set out to answer in this next part of class. We're going to talk about the Christian conception of the common good and justice. We're going to talk about the story that lies behind it, the story that informs the Christian understanding of justice and the common good. We're also going to look at the characteristics of Christian mission. Then we will look at two texts. These texts are in your course reader. Keep that handy. We're going to look at the constitutions for the order of the Congregation of the Holy Cross, the order that founded Holy Cross College. And we'll also look at the parable of the Good Samaritan, one of the stories that Jesus taught some 2,000 years ago. And then after that, I will read with you out of our course text, Justice, What's the Right Thing to Do by Michael Sandel. And we'll talk about the three ways of thinking about justice. So that's what we're doing. To begin, in our world, there are many different and competing understandings and conceptions of justice and the common good. Most of us would agree that it's good to work for the common good, and it's good to be a just person. But we probably wouldn't agree 100% what justice and the common good look like. What do you mean when you say justice? For example, Republicans and Democrats both want a just society, but as you can clearly see on the news every day, their idea about what a just society looks like is very different. So when we talk about the common good and justice, we need to define what we mean by these terms. In this course, we'll look at several different conceptions of justice and the common good. We'll start with Christianity and Catholic social teaching, which is the philosophy behind Holy Cross College. But we'll also consider several secular conceptions of justice and the common good. For each perspective, I want you to be critical. I want you to think really carefully. Why do some people find this view compelling? Even if you disagree with it, I want you to be able to say, why do some people find this compelling? And why do other people not find it compelling? One of my goals for you this quarter is that you would learn to evaluate all of the perspectives and explain their strengths and weaknesses. Now, I happen to be a Christian. I'm not Catholic, but I am a Christian, and I am enthusiastic about Catholic social teaching. But my goal is not to force my perspective on you. And as you will see, I will do my best to present each perspective, even the ones I disagree with, in the most charitable and compelling way possible. And I want you to learn to do the same. And if you ever think I'm not being fair to a perspective, you can tell me. I need your help. Just like you need my help and you need the help of your classmates sitting next to you. I have blind spots. And by definition, obviously, I don't know what they are. I can't see them unless people like you tell me. So please, if you think I'm not being fair, let me know. We're going to start with the perspective of Christianity because this is actually, well, first it's the foundation of Holy Cross College, but also it's the source from where our modern conceptions of common good and justice for the poor and oppressed come from. In other words, the modern world didn't come up with these ideas on its own. We inherited them from ancient Christianity. The first question I want to ask then is, why? Why do these ideas come from Christianity? Well, they're essential to Christianity. They emerge out of what I'm going to call the Christian story, the story that Christians believe about the world. You've probably heard some version of this story before. In your handout, I want you to write down the different parts of the story. Now we're on page 3 of your handout. I like to communicate or tell the Christian story as a 5-act play. So here we go. Again, this is an oversimplified story. So those of you who know a different version of the Christian story, you might be like, wait a minute, how come he didn't say this? Well, I can't say everything. Act 1, creation. There is a God of love, Christians believe, who creates a beautiful world and who creates humanity, humans, to be his agents of love in the world. Humans have a purpose. Humans have a special purpose, a mission to love. So in the Christian story, humans aren't just blank slates. They're created with a purpose. Now, to be an agent of love, you also need freedom, because you can't force people to love. True love is voluntary. So God also gives humanity freedom. That's Act 1, creation. Act 2, the fall. Unfortunately, humans use their freedom selfishly, and instead of being agents of love, they begin to use and abuse each other. Christians call this sin. Our sin works its way through the whole world like poison in the bloodstream. Human selfishness and sin causes pollution of the world, of the planet, poverty, disease, abuse, and violence. That's Act 2, the fall. Act 3, salvation. The God of love who creates the world sees our world falling apart and decides to rescue the world he loves. His plan is to remake humanity and give them back their mission of being agents of love. To do this, God decides to become a human being himself, a guy named Jesus, to show us how to be agents of love. Ultimately, Jesus is executed by humanity who finds his love too radical. But God uses Jesus' death as a sacrifice to heal and forgive all of our selfishness and sin. And in dying, Jesus defeats death itself. He resurrects from the dead, showing us that love is stronger than death. That's Act 3, salvation. Act 4, the Christian mission. Jesus' small band of followers receive the forgiveness and healing of Jesus, and filled with God's Spirit, begin anew the human mission of love in the world. And that movement has now spread all over the world. According to the Christian story, this is where we are today. In 2020, we are still in Act 4. In other words, the story is not over. We're in the middle of the story. Holy Cross College sees itself as a part of this story, continuing the human mission to love the world, or the mission of love in the world. That's Act 4, the Christian mission. So let me review before I get to Act 5. Act 1 was creation. God creates the world, and he creates humans to be agents of love. Act 2, we fall. We start using and abusing each other, and our sin ruins the whole world. Act 3, salvation. God decides to save us, to remake humanity by becoming a human and showing us how to be agents of love. But we kill him. We can't handle it. But God uses Jesus' death to bring about forgiveness and healing and the defeat of death itself. Act 4, we are given our mission back, our mission to be agents of love. And now, filled with the Spirit of God, we continue that original mission that has now been remade. Finally, Act 5 is called resurrection. This is looking forward to the future, the final day, when Jesus' healing and forgiveness is complete. The whole world is healed and forgiven, and humanity fulfills its mission of being agents of love. It's the fulfillment of the story. The world is recreated, the dead are raised, and we're united with God's love, with death, sin, and selfishness eradicated. That's the Christian story. It's a rough, oversimplified telling of it, but this is more or less what Christians have believed for about 2,000 years and all around the world, regardless of whether you're Orthodox, Catholic, Syriac, or Protestant. This story shows us that the ideas of working for the common good and for justice for the poor and the oppressed are not arbitrary to Christianity, but they are the essence of Christianity. According to Christianity, this is what we were created for in the first place, to be agents of love. And although we screwed it up, now in Act 4, that's our mission and purpose again. And one of the main reasons why God became a human named Jesus, which is one of Christianity's big claims, is to show us what that mission of love looks like. So again, working for the common good, working for justice, especially for the poor and the oppressed, those aren't like secondary things to Christianity. They are the essence, part of the essence of Christianity. When we, according to the Christian story, when we then, regardless of what our own personal beliefs, you can be an atheist, you can be agnostic, you could be Muslim. If you start working for the common good and start serving the poor and oppressed, you are fulfilling the mission that God, the Christian God, has for you. You are being human. Now again, my goal in telling you about the Christian story is not to impose Christian beliefs on anyone. I assume that in this class there are diversity of religious and philosophical views, all of which are extremely valuable for this class, because remember, the goal here is to learn how to evaluate all the different perspectives we consider. So I need a diversity of perspectives in the room to do that. Now, at any point in my lecturing to you, if a question pops up, normally I would stop and I'd say, raise your hand, do you have any questions? You can't do that now, but on the back sheet of your handout, there's a little box there where you can write down questions for me. So please, as we go, if you have questions, write them down. Also, I will be emailing you shortly, and you can email me on your tablets short questions, which I can respond to. So there's multiple ways you can get a hold of me with questions. So I tell you the story of the Christian story for two reasons. One, to show you that it is not an accident that the concepts like common good and justice for the poor and the oppressed emerge out of Christianity. It's no surprise that Christianity is the largest volunteer organization in the world in terms of serving the poor, the homeless, the sick, and the oppressed. No surprise there. It's part of their essence. But number two, I want to illustrate for you a bigger truth. The story you believe about the world affects how you live your life and how you treat other people. It determines whether you consider working for the common good and fighting injustice to be important or not. Working for the common good, is that a good idea? Is it just a good idea and hopefully a few people do it? Is it optional? Or is it mandatory? Is it actually the human purpose? Is it our calling? Is it what we were created to do? How you answer that question probably depends upon what you believe about the world and the story you believe. So whether you agree or believe in the Christian story or not, I hope this is an opportunity for you to reflect, hey, wait a minute, what story do I believe about the world? How do my beliefs motivate or discourage me from working for the common good and for justice? Let's move to question number two. Question number one was, what is the story lying behind the Christian conception of the common good and justice? Number two is, what are the characteristics of Christian mission? If you notice in your handout, there's space to write about this too. Again, according to the Christian story, this time we're living in is Act 4. It's the time of mission. That is bringing God's love to the world. What are the characteristics of this mission? Well, number one, I'm going to list these off, and then we're going to see we're going to find them in a couple texts. Number one, the preferential option for the poor and oppressed. Preferential option for the poor and oppressed. Preferential is spelled P-R-E-F-E-R-E-N-T-I-A-L. Preferential option for the poor and oppressed. What does that mean? Well, our world is full of injustice and evil and violence and suffering. The poor and the oppressed are those who suffer worst. They're the ones weathering the brunt of the storm. And so their rescue, their salvation is the priority. Their wounds are the first to be healed. That's what that means. It's not that they're more important. It's not that God loves them more than everyone else. But that they're the most harmed. And so, like a triage situation, they get the first attention. Preferential option for the poor and oppressed. Number two, love of enemies. If the poor and the oppressed are those who receive the first care, it might be easy to think, well, the rich and the powerful are the bad guys. The people who are oppressing them are the bad guys. And maybe we should just kill them, or maybe we should just get rid of them. Maybe the oppressors should be destroyed. But according to the Christian mission, the enemies also deserve love. The oppressor is not to be destroyed. The oppressor is also someone wounded. That's why they're being oppressors. And they need healing too. The oppressor needs to be rescued from being an oppressor. So number one, again, preferential option for the poor and the oppressed. Number two, the Christian mission is characterized by love of enemies. Number three, the formation of a new human family inclusive of all people. The formation of a new human family inclusive of all people. The Christian mission is characterized by forming together a new human family inclusive of all people. What does that mean? Well, now you've got the oppressor learning to stop being an oppressor, and you've got the oppressed getting liberated, and they're actually reconciled to be in one family. Christianity is about creating communities that break down all the kinds of walls, all the kinds of barriers that divide us. You know, whether it's the divide between male and female, or black and white, and other ethnic groups. Christianity is about breaking down those barriers to make one human family. Lastly, the last characteristic of Christian mission is a willingness to suffer and die for this mission. When Jesus came and started hanging out with the poor and the oppressed, and he loved his persecutors and the Romans who were killing him, and when he formed a new community that was inclusive of all people, well, he was hated for it. He was resisted. The religious leaders of the day, think of the pastors and the priests, they wanted him killed. And ultimately, they did kill him. So his followers, why should they expect anything different? If you get involved in the Christian mission of loving enemies and loving the poor and the oppressed and building a new human family, people will resist you. You'll meet the same kind of resistance and suffering. So what is required is a willingness to suffer and even die. So those are the four characteristics of Christian mission. 1, preferential option for the poor and the oppressed. 2, love of enemies. 3, the formation of a new human family inclusive of all people. And 4, a willingness to suffer and die for this mission. Again, if you have any questions, please, you can pause the video or later just write down in that last box your questions for me. What I want to do now is look at 2 texts that illustrate these characteristics of Christian mission, so we can see them at work, so to speak. So go ahead and open up your course packet again to the first text. It should say Day 1 in class reading, text 1, and it says excerpts. So I can get this to work. Excerpts from the Constitutions of the Congregation of the Holy Cross. Now, what is a constitution? Well, our country has a constitution. It defines our rules and our freedoms, and it tells us what we're about. It gives us our vision for who we are. In the same way, the Congregation of the Holy Cross that founded Holy Cross College in Notre Dame, that congregation has its own constitutions. And we're going to read the first section, or we're going to read an excerpt from Constitution 2 called Mission. Let me share this with the screen. It's not wanting me to share today. Well, you just please read along with me. As I read, by the way, I want you to have a pen in your hand. And I want you to write down, mark things up and write down little comments in the margins. Be as active, engaged in the learning process as possible. So as I read this, think about that Christian story I summarized for you, the 5-act play, and see if you can see reflections of that story right here in the Constitutions. So number 9. God so loved the world that he sent his only Son, that we might have life and have it abundantly. In the fullness of time, the Lord Jesus came among us, anointed by the Spirit, to inaugurate a kingdom of justice, love, and peace. His rule would be no mere earthly regime. It would initiate a new creation in every land. His power would be within and without, rescuing us from the injustice we suffer and also the injustice we inflict. So hopefully you recognize right away what act is this talking about? Act 1, 2, 3, 4? This is describing especially Act 3, right? God becoming a human, and then also setting up Act 4, the mission of the church.